Alright, so I rightfully got a lot of flack in my last video for not doing enough research on the tracks in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and I first want to say thank you guys for calling me out on some things. I did not do enough of a deep dive. So, with that being said, I did more of a deep dive for this topic in today's video. Hello everyone, I'm OCDsaster, and this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel where everything we do here is Sonic related. So if that sounds like something your speed, consider checking out some other videos after this one and subscribing to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about the possibility of a story mode in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. I have scoured the internet to see if there's any evidence of this coming, and so far it hasn't been confirmed or outright denied officially by Sega or Sonic Team, and fans are speculating on both sides. Some saying CrossWorlds is going to be specifically a multiplayer live service game, while others are saying there's been hints dropped in the Tales Tube series on YouTube, along with some other little lore bits here and there being dropped subtly. And I wanted to throw my opinion, my thoughts into the hat, if that means anything. Obviously, as we get closer to the release date of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, we will officially find out if we are getting indeed a story mode. So what dictates a story mode? To me, a story mode must first and foremost have an actual story that's being told. It's not just a bunch of missions that have no through line or just a bunch of text bubbles in between a default racing setup. When I think story modes in racing games, I think of Sonic Riders, I think of Crash Team Racing. I don't think of Mario Kart because Mario Kart doesn't have a story mode, and I don't believe any of them did. They might have had mission modes, but that's to my point, that's a mission mode structure, not a story mode structure. I personally love the story mode in Sonic Riders. I don't think the writing is fantastic by any means, but it is a fun time to just dive in as a single player experience. It takes about like 20 to 30 minutes to even complete the whole thing for both teams, so like it's only about an hour, 2 hours of your time, and you unlock stuff from completing it. It gives you a purpose on why you're racing, you get some cool character interactions and moments, and it's a good introduction and setup for the Babylon Rogues. However, I can kind of understand if CrossWorlds goes away from having a story mode because we already know the characters. There's a large amount of characters that they would have to write in, and it's just kind of a little bit too much to add to a game this size. Bear with me here, but I'm going to be using Smash Bros as an example. Melee, the second installation for Smash Bros, did not have a story mode. It had an adventure mode, but you really just ran through a bunch of, platforming and fights that were just themed around different parts. If you really unpacked it, there was like a subtle story from behind the scenes, but it wasn't blatant, it wasn't in your face, you didn't get cut scenes, you didn't get anything like that. So I wouldn't consider that a story mode. However, you move over to Brawl, and Brawl, even though there was no dialogue, there were a lot of cutscenes and cinematics in between your fights and as you progressed in the game. So I would consider that to be a story mode. And then you have World of Light in Smash Ultimate, where they kind of have a cutscene at the beginning, middle, and end, and then everything else is just, PNGs going over and just, fighting to get the sprites. And it's like a pseudo story mode. I can't really say it's not a story mode, but can't really say that it is either, because it is telling a story, but it's missing a lot of substance. And I think part of that is because they have so many characters and so many things going on in Ultimate that they couldn't spend the time or money into developing a really big story with that big of a roster. And it looks like it's not going to be as big as Ultimate, but it looks like CrossWorlds is going to have a very big roster, and it's going to be a lot to put all of them in as cinematics or paying the voice actors, and it would just be a lot from a production standpoint. And a lot of people are even saying online that they would rather have them focus on the gameplay and focus on the online multiplayer experience, so that way that is nice and tight, so that way the actual game is good, because you would much rather have a better game and no story mode than a story mode but the game's kind of mid, right? I feel like that's a logical thing to say, and I can subscribe to that, but there's something about Sonic games in particular where there's normally a story driving it. Now, I haven't played much of Sonic Racing, Sonic Team Racing, Sonic Racing Transformed. I know there's little things here and there, I think, in some of them where there's kind of a story mode, but I think it would be a lot more challenging for them to do that for this game. However, in the same breath that I'm saying all these things, there's, the travel rings that allow you to teleport to different dimensions, which would lead to really good storytelling and a really cool, peek into what they could do with a multiverse story, which is what they're already doing in the Netflix TV show Sonic Prime. And you even get Sonic Prime skins if you pre-order the game. Or is that part of the digital deluxe version? I'd have to go back and check on that. It's one of the two. And yeah, I'm very torn on this because I get the arguments, and people are also saying that on the description of the game it says join a new adventure, and that the word adventure means that there's going to be a story mode. I think if they do have a story mode in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, it's going to be more akin to a World of Light, basically, where you get maybe an intro cutscene, a middle cutscene, and an ending cutscene, but the in-between is just going to be dialogue bubbles, and maybe there's a hub world you can race around on. That'd be really cool. Maybe it's just a map, and you just kind of move on the map where you're going to go talk to some characters with the word bubbles, and then you get into a race. It could be a simple story where, there's an intergalactic being that's putting everyone together to race, and whoever wins saves the world or whatever. But that's very Crash Team Racing. If you haven't played that game, it's old. They did a remake of it. It's really good, even though the developers dropped off that game in a hot minute after they were done with it. Regardless, I'm not going to go into that rant right now. That's basically the story of Crash Team Racing, so I don't know if they wanted to go in that direction. But Crash Team Racing is actually my most favorite racing game story because it not only has a story mode, but you can drive through the hub world and in between races. And I just thought that was really, really cool and a cool concept back in the day when it first originated. But I'm really torn. I would much rather have a solid gameplay structure, gameplay loop, a lot of replayability, a lot of good online multiplayer action over just a single player story experience and the game just being okay. So I am going to say this. I would love a story mode, but if it's going to affect the gameplay, I'd rather just not have it. Do I think CrossWorlds is going to have a story mode? In my personal opinion, I don't think so. But we will not know for sure until Sega or Sonic Team actually confirm it. I looked on the internet, I looked on forums and stuff like that. I didn't just use the AI overview to see, even though the AI overview said no, it won't. But we still need more news and more information up to the release of the game, and I'm curious what you guys think. Do you want to see a story mode in CrossWorlds? If so, what would you like it to be? Do you want it to be its own fleshed out thing? Would you rather have mission modes instead of a story mode? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. And just a reminder, we do have memberships here on the channel, so if you've been loving this content, coming back, watching some more videos, please consider checking that out. You absolutely don't have to, but the option is there for some extra behind the scenes content, and you'll be able to vote on what videos you want to see next. So with that being said, I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya!